Welcome to the Driven Dental Podcast, where all things dental drive our curiosity to have meaningful conversations about self-development, business scalability, and prioritizing people over profits. This podcast will leave you ready to drive your practice to new levels of success. I am Matt Robinson, COO and co-founder of Operation Dental, writer of the Driven Dental Practice, and your host. Dentistry is about its people. Let's hear from them. The challenges that a 360-degree leader face. The tension challenge, the pressure of being caught in the middle. So learn to lead despite restrictions others have placed on you. So caught in the middle being you're a leader, so you have people under you, but you also have leaders ahead of you. So, which can get very tense. Factors that impact the tension, empowerment. How much authority are you given? Are the lines clear? And they talk about, I would have to train my people to think and make judgment calls on their own. So we'll talk about this later, but I think that we give a decent amount of authority to people. What I typically tell people is, if you're comfortable making the call, do it. If you're not, call somebody. And then with time, you'll eventually get more and more comfortable. It's exactly how Dr. Kelly and I grew the company. Because in the very beginning, we had all these questions, and we had never grown anything like this. So we had to find our way. There were some things that he would kind of take over and some things I would take over. If I wasn't comfortable making a call that was kind of in his world, I'd get him involved. If not, I started making calls, and I can assure you that you won't get it from us. Like the blame game, I hate that. I always have. If something goes wrong, as long as you are learning from it, that's all that really matters. So hopefully that will help reduce the amount of tension for you as you're trying to grow into a leadership position and make decisions. Initiative. Good leaders rarely think in terms of boundaries. Instead, they think in terms of opportunity. Leaders are initiators. After all, the number one characteristic of leaders is the ability to make things happen. Learn to balance without overstepping. So you can't just come into an office on Monday and just start dominating the conversations of all the different departments. You have to start with balance. But good leaders look for opportunities. Again, look for them. You'll see them every day. The environment. Assess your environment. What is the leadership DNA of your organization and leader? I would say what I just said. Our DNA is, we want you to grow. We're okay with you making judgment calls. If you're not comfortable with it, get somebody else's advice. But I wouldn't let the fear of one of the regionals or me or getting mad at you because of something that went wrong. Now, obviously, there's not like drastic things that can't be done, like shutting down the office for a week, But as little judgment calls come up throughout the day, try to make as many as you can, because it goes back to having the offices on autopilot. The less we have to get involved, the more we can spend time elsewhere. An environment may be fine for one leader, but not for another. Talk about how I think. I don't remember. Assess your environment. God, what was I thinking? I don't remember. I think I need better notes. I think it was something to do with there's some practices that maybe are more strict than others from leadership, or the manager is very maybe by the book. So you have to know the type of environment that you're in. And assess that environment. So if you're, let's see, Ryan, I wish Ryan was here. Ryan at Claremont is pretty straightforward. I don't think she would work too well with Dr. Tarver. Yeah.
That's kind of about operational. Every office, even though we have the same procedures and protocols, every office is ran different. You have different personalities, so you are kind of, your personality different with each office. So
right. So for example, and Dr. Phillips, because Dr. Tarver is a goofball. He's amazing. But you as the leader, it just wouldn't work if you came in and you're super stern and militaristic with everything. Like you have to lead in that environment different than you might lead in a different environment. So if you switch offices, you're going to have to learn these people and adapt. There you go. All right, factors that impact attention continued. Job parameters. How well do you know and do your job? So basically, you will be way less stressed trying to grow into a leader the better you are at your job. You'll get the confidence that you were just talking about, Amelie. You'll get the confidence to ask for that next level. Appreciation. Can you live without the credit? So this is a big topic that we could talk about for a long time, but most leaders don't get credit for what they're actually doing. Like, I don't know, has anybody ever read about the history of Disney? But apparently, I haven't read it myself, I just have heard stories, heard people talk about it. So Walt Disney came up with the idea, but his brother is the person that literally built the entire company, and you've never heard of his brother, you only hear of Walt Disney. And it can be very similar with leadership, where a lot of the work you do might be on the Fridays when it's just you and nobody sees what you're doing. You obviously have to lead well at your job, but outside of the job is really where you'll separate yourself, and no one will see that. So the reality of leading from the middle organization is that you're not going to get as much public recognition and appreciation of leaders at the top. I will say we do try to see, obviously, what is actually happening and give credit where credit's due. So how to relieve this challenge? Become comfortable with the middle. Good leaders at the top break ground for their people. They create momentum for the entire organization. There you go, Yesenia. Talk things out with your boss. The more you know about what's expected of you, what's normal in organization, and how much authority you have, the more comfortable you will be. So that's what I'm trying to explain here today, is that you have leeway to make decisions yourself. Know what to own and what to let go. One of the best things you can do as a leader is ask what is expected of you, and then maintain a dialogue concerning expectations with the people to whom you answer. Just real quick, my general expectations: work on you first, lead by example, where I'd start. Find quick access to answers when caught in the middle. A pet peeve of mine is not having the phone numbers of people you should have the phone numbers to. So for example, if John from IT has been in your office 6 times and you still don't have his number, when there's a problem, I say, do you have his number? And you say no, it's not good. So have the numbers of the people who you need to have the numbers to. And worst case, make a judgment call. All right, never violate your position or the trust of the leader. It would be wise to not have an if I were in charge conversation with another staff member. Because what that does is just belittles the leader kind of behind their back, and it doesn't fix anything. You should just go talk to that person. There's something else later. But we'll get to it later. But it's similar to that. Find a way to relieve stress. Oh, I remember. So you don't have the conversation, or if I were in charge, and you also don't have the conversation where you tell the person what your title is. Nobody needs to know. They all know if you're the manager. They all know if you're the dentist. You don't have to say, I'm this person, therefore do this. Find a way to relieve stress. There is a natural temptation to let off steam to coworkers. The keys to success is learning to deal with the tension of whatever position you are in, overcome its obstacles, and make the most of its advantages and opportunities. If you can do that, you can succeed from anywhere in the organization. So, talking with coworkers, it's just a reality. I've come to accept it. But the less that you can talk gossip or just nonsense or just not uplifting to your words to your coworkers, the better. And if you have to let off steam, figure out a better way than talking to somebody who probably can't do anything about it. Challenge number 2, the frustration challenge, following an ineffective leader. Everybody deals with that here. So,
it's the worst.
What I would like to do, though, for this section, assuming that we're somewhat effective as leaders, is discuss the frustrations that you have with dentists in the office, who are the leaders. I know. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. Think dentist. The solution to a frustrating challenge, adding value. No matter what our circumstance, our greatest limitation isn't the leader above us, it's the spirit within us. The role of leaders in the middle organization is to add value to the organization and to the leader. Number one, develop a solid relationship with your leader. The first reaction is often to withdraw and build relational barriers, fight that urge. Go outside of the office to talk big picture. This is the number one piece of advice I can give. If you're having frustrations with somebody, don't try to do it in the middle of a workday. We talk later about wearing multiple hats. Don't wear the relationship building hat when there's pressure of the office. It doesn't work. And don't do it through text message either. So we can talk more about frustrations with doctors later, but you have to fight that urge to withdraw from them. Identify and appreciate your leader's strengths. Everyone has strengths. Work to find them. Commit yourself to adding value to your leader's strengths. Get permission to develop a game plan to complement your leader's weaknesses. A wise leader hires for their weaknesses. Obviously, approach the subject delicately with your leader. So you need to know as a leader what the strengths and weaknesses of yourself are, and then also of those other people, so that you can have the office get everything it needs to get done by the person who's best for that job. And obviously approach the subject delicately with your leader when you're talking about their weaknesses. So expose your leader to good leadership resources. Share what you've discovered while working to improve your leadership skills. It's a win-win, since it's make sure you are working on you. So if you come across something that is applicable to the office and it makes sense, share it with everyone or whoever you think is appropriate. Publicly affirm your leader. Your affirmation for your leader will help them develop confidence. We work with a lot of younger dentists. So there's been very few dentists who have not worked out with us because they are terrible dentists. There have been a few, but there have been a decent number of dentists who haven't worked out with us because the team didn't really give them the proper support to help build their confidence. So keep that in mind. Other people, confidence is a challenge for everybody always. So anytime you can publicly affirm anybody, really do that. It makes you look good for being more selfless, but it can help other people grow once you give them confidence. Okay, the multi-hat challenge, knowing what hat to put on and enjoying the challenge. So other than dealing with dentists, this is probably, I'm joking with that, by the way, but this is probably the biggest challenge a leader faces. There's so many different things to do, and you have to be different for the different situations at the right time. So leadership requires the ability to do many things well. Most leaders in the middle of an organization have to deal with demands from leaders at the top, from patients, and from their followers. I would add dentists to that list as well. There's a lot of demands being placed on management or just anyone in the organization from a lot of different levels. How to deal with that? Remember that the hat sets the context when interacting with others. Everyone's role or hat has its own responsibilities and objectives. If you change hats, the context changes. That basically means, let's say somebody's having a horrible day that you work with. You would put on a hat that is more compassionate with that person. And maybe you're short-staffed and you just have to get done. You don't wear the compassion hat that day or at that time. You're putting on the go hat to just get through the day. So remember the context means know where you're at and what's important at the time for how you react to the situation. Very similar, don't use one hat to accomplish a task required for another hat. Learn what hat to wear in any given situation. It's a balancing act. So the job I had before dentistry was a good example of this in that I was in charge of operations there. There were two roles. You had to buy everything, the purchasing, and then you had to ship everything. Two completely different hats. Buying things, you have to focus. You have to have concentration because you're spending money. If you don't buy what you need to do, then the orders don't get pulled. Pulling the orders is literally sometimes getting out and physically pulling the orders, manual labor, doing whatever you have to do. If I tried to buy something when the team was pulling orders and had questions, I would drive myself insane. So I'm sure things come up in your day-to-day where maybe you're trying to do something that requires focus time, but you're trying to do it at 8 a.m. on a Monday. It's not going to work out well. When you change hats, don't change your personality. This is hopefully pretty obvious, but your attitude and behavior should be consistent and predictable with everyone. Otherwise, you won't be trustworthy. Nobody wants to come to work wondering what version of you is there that day. Don't neglect any hat you are responsible to wear. Remain flexible. There are so many demands on leaders in the middle. They can't afford to be rigid. This is something all 360-degree leaders must learn to navigate. Okay, the ego challenge. Successful leaders are like icebergs. You only see 10% of them. This goes back to most of the work you do might not get noticed, and you have to be okay with that as a leader. So concentrate more on the job than your dreams. Effective leaders pay more attention to production than promotion. They get the job done. Appreciate the value of your position and find satisfaction in knowing the real reason for the success of a project. In the book, Good to Great, level 5 leaders were often quiet and humble leaders. When you do a job well and you know the impact of the work you did, that should give you great satisfaction and motivate you. Embrace the compliments of others in the middle of the pack. The praise of a colleague who's walked in your shoes means more than kind words from your boss. That's good because a weakness of mine is giving kind words. Understand the difference between self-promotion and selfless promotion. Selfless promotion is putting others first. If you lead well from the middle of an organization, you won't stay there forever. Good leaders get results and they get noticed. So that is the ego challenge, basically saying focus more on working hard and other people, and the rest should take care of itself. Because like I said before, we really do try to notice the hard work. Fulfillment challenge. How to be fulfilled in the middle of the pack is see the big picture. So the person who keeps busy helping the ones below them won't have time to envy the person above them. I would add keeping busy, growing themselves. So I think this is really, really important in that many people, when they see something they're frustrated with, they get so laser focused on that, they forget to work on themselves. There's always going to be things you can work on to get better yourself. And you're better off keeping your focus there and getting so good at whatever you do that it can fix other problems for you. With the right attitude and the right skills, you can influence others from wherever you are in an organization through developing strong relationships. Define the win in terms of teamwork. Never use the word I when you're talking. It's we did this. If the office had a great month. Or if there's a problem that you didn't even do, it's the person you're talking to that did it. You say we have this problem, or we made this mistake. Engage in continual communication. As a leader in the middle organization, being the recipient of communication is important, but equally or more important is communicating up. So this goes back to, as we get bigger, the leaders get more and more detached from what's actually going on. So we rely on you to be the eyes and ears of what's happening. As you interact with your leaders, let them know how you're advancing the vision, get their feedback and questions to find out if there are other things you should know more effectively to pass on the vision to others. So real quick, we'll talk about, I think there is a vision. Oh, okay, the vision challenge. I'll get to that in a second then. Gain experience and maturity. So obviously the maturity is reps. Like you're going to have more and more people to to work with as leaders, so hopefully you get better and better. Put the team above your personal success. So this is what leadership is all about, helping others win. That's more important than where you are in the organizational chart. So hopefully seeing others win, and you'll win alongside them, but hopefully that will make you feel fulfilled where you are.